we have under wheat cultivation to give our people their daily bread? Then he said, move on to milk. How much land must we have? How many cows must we own? How much grazing land must we have to give our people a glass of milk with every meal? How many sheep must we have? And how much grazing land must we have to give our people a lamb chop? I didn't say pork chop. Lamb chops. Ain't got to rob nobody. You gotta own the means of production. Then all your businesses will spring up. How much land must we have to give our people a requirement of spinach or broccoli or carrots, cauliflower, onions, garlic, string beans? All the things that help us to feed ourselves come from the land. How much land must we have? We've got to know just what it takes to feed an entire people. That means we are independent. We've taken our stomach away from our enemies. How much clay land must we have in order to make bricks to start building houses? How much forest land must we have to cut down the trees and make wood to build homes? We have to have land, and there is no compromising this.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The truth must be recognized by the black man. But the word economics comes from the Greek eikonomikos, but it has come to be defined as the science of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services, or the material welfare of humanity. Now, a blueprint is something defined that acts as a plan, a model, or something providing guidance. An economic blueprint is exactly what we need.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Doctor, you in the house? Lawyer, you in the house? Teacher, you in the house? Preacher, you in the house? Tell me something. If you don't eat well, how long will you practice law? If you don't eat well, you become the patient, doctor. So don't look down on a farmer, look up to a farmer, because today it will be us farming our own land, producing our own food that will save our lives. It hurts me to travel and see us so dependent on others for the basic necessities of life, when the richness of our land is there to produce all that we need and then some.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The truth must be recognized by the black man. We are an international people. Our brothers and sisters are all over the world desirous of doing business with us. But if we are not producing anything, we can't enter into trade and commerce with the nations of the earth. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in Message to a Black Man, quote, as a people, we must become producers and not remain consumers and employees. We must be able to extract raw materials from the earth and manufacture them into something useful for ourselves. This would create jobs in production, We must remember that without land there is no production, and the surplus of what we produce we would sell. This would help develop a field of commerce and trade as other free and independent people whose population is less than that of ours, so-called Negroes. The truth must be recognized by the black man.
We're talking about revolution because that's the era that you're caught in. You're caught in a revolutionary era.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad outlined some basic principles. Number one, recognize the necessity for unity and group operation. Do you understand that if we can work together as a group in unity, we will be more successful, more powerful, more able to do the things that as individuals working by ourselves we have never been able to do. Pool your resources physically as well as financially. Stop wanton criticism of everything that is black owned and operated. Keep in mind that jealousy destroys from within. Observe the operations of the white man. He is successful. He makes no excuses for his failures. He works hard in a collective manner. You do the same. Now, these are things that we must do. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us to commit to save 5 cents a day. He said if we can save just 5 cents a day from our wages, 25 cents a week for 52 weeks in the year, that would mean we would put aside $13 a year that we could save in a national savings treasury. At that time that he wrote this, we numbered 22 million people and approximately 5 million were wage earners. Well, if 5 million wage earners save $13 a year, this would mean 65 million saved out of our wages in 1 year. At the rate of 25 cents per week, it would be painless. Today, brothers and sisters, don't you think we can do better than what we were asked to do 48 years ago? According to government statistics, there are a little over 16 million blacks employed at some level. Well, look what happens if we raise the economic bar and contribute the same nickel a day. The truth must be recognized by the black man.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
Greetings, beloved listeners. I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I bear witness that there is but one God. Welcome to the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am Brother David Muhammad. And I'm going to be in studio with you up to 9 o'clock this morning. And in a short while from now, I will open up the telephone lines and take your calls on 342 342 0081 and 4665391. You can send WhatsApp messages directly to me on 332-0214. And of course, you can go to the social media pages of The Street 919 FM and find us in studio. So, beloved family, happy Independence Day 2024. 62 years of independence. Ourselves, along with, of course, our CARICOM family, Jamaica, who would have celebrated theirs just 25 days earlier than us. And this is a privilege. It's something that we must cherish. But you know, on every Independence Day, I remember Imam Yassin Abu Bakr, who at one time at a lecture at our headquarters, he called up a brother. It was Brother Brian. This was in 2006 when we were in Tunapuna. And he said to Brother Brian, he said, stand up here, called him right up to the front. And he said, put one foot in the air. So basically, stand on one leg. And Brother Brian lifted up his right knee and he stood balancing on one foot with the other foot in the air. And then Imam Abu Bakr said to him, all right, so leave your right foot right there in the air, and now put your left foot in the air. And of course, everyone laughed. He said, the point is, we must have land. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said land is the basis of independence. Land. There are some countries that don't have a president. There are some countries that don't have a prime minister. There are some countries that don't have a parliament, that don't have a king or a monarch, that don't have a Congress or a Senate. There's only one thing that every single country has. Some countries don't even have an army or a normal police force. But one thing that every country must have is land. You have to have land. Land is the basis for independence. Now, if land is the basis of independence, then the next thing that we have to look at is citizenship. And if land makes us independent, then the essence of equal citizenship should be equal ownership of land. Because you cannot talk about equality if it is territory that makes us a sovereign state, but some citizens own territory, but other citizens do not own any territory, and those who do not own any land have to pay those who do own land to live in Trinidad and Tobago. If that is the case, how can we possibly say that we are equal. And if we could recognize that there's no equality in that equation, then how does this now relate to our relationship with the Constitution? So arguably, it would favor you as a landowner over someone else who is landless. And don't think for 1 minute that this idea is so outlandish, because for the very first elections that we had in this country in 1925, under what was called partial adult suffrage, in order to vote, you had to own land. Think about that. Think and think deeply. In order to be able to exercise our right to vote, we had to be landowners. And then full adult suffrage came in 1946, where everyone was allowed to vote. But what I want you to think about is, do you think that the land-owning class, who were the only ones who had the right to vote at that time, would have been so willing to give up their rights and to surrender that privilege? That only landowners were allowed to vote at first, and then something changed, that non-landowners were about and allowed to vote? Do you really think that they would not find some way to ensure that the landowners still had privilege? Of course they did. And of course they do. Now listen, beloved, tomorrow at the Kwame Ture Center, we are addressing a very important topic. We're having a very important meeting under the theme, now that we have spoken, it is time for action. We've just come out of August with so many conversations and discussions about so many different things, but now it is time for us to take action. And tomorrow morning at the Kwame Ture Center, from 11 o'clock, we're outlining a plan of action, mapping out a way forward. For so many of us, our consciousness ends when August ends, but for us, it begins once again for a whole year ahead. No, that's not the time to go to sleep. That's the time to wake up, beloved. And I want us to think on this deeply. For many of us, that same, and it's almost similar with independence, the way we celebrate some of these things. Yeah, we celebrate emancipation as if it is temporary, and we celebrate independence also as if it's just a special occasion. What sense does it make for us to be the ones who are in love with the red, white, and black more than anyone else? but yet still own the least land. No, something's wrong with that picture, beloved. Something's wrong with that equation. How could we be the number one supporters of that whole concept of independence, but be the last and the least to cash in on it? No, beloved. So our independence is something that has to be cherished. Yes, it should be celebrated, but it also must be lived. And our status as citizens must be something that we're mindful of. Of African descent are the most passionate in our